Denver school principals are fed up with the district and its discipline decisions, like the case of the principal who got a restraining order due to a student's threats, and the district sided with the student. Parents gather outside East High to say the district needs to make security changes before students return for the first time since the latest shooting there.
In 2 days, our kids are coming back. What is going to be different?
And we visit a school where 90% of the eligible students are registered to vote. They went to do it today. Together, we'll go along on Next. Denver's principals are demanding changes to make schools safer. Students return from spring break tomorrow, and the union representing principals wants them to have more say in discipline policies and school safety decisions. Like the case of a principal who got a restraining order against a student who's making threats, and the district took the student's side. Our Marshall Zellinger has this 9 News Originals report.
Principals are the school leaders. When students return to class this week in Denver Public Schools, school resource officers will be back in high schools, but principals will have no added power in determining student discipline and school safety.
Because our leaders have equity in mind and they care about all of their students and the safety of all of their students, and they know the unique needs of their buildings, they're the best people to have at the table for these discussions.
Dr. Moira Coogan is the head of the Denver School Leaders Association, a relatively new union for principals and assistant principals. That union, DSLA, just sent this letter to its members and the superintendent demanding policy changes around school safety. The request seeks a review and revision of the district's discipline matrix. That's this chart that went into effect at the end of 2021. It limits law enforcement involvement and expulsions, all while prioritizing keeping a student, every student, in school.
We didn't exist when the matrix was reformed. It was done without the union, and we really do advocate that the Denver School Leaders Association should be part of those discussions to elevate the leader voice at this point as we're looking at all of these things.
The DSLA letter also requests added protections for school leaders who raise safety and security concerns, like Kurt Dennis, the principal of McAuliffe Middle School, who recently told us the district overruled his requests to keep a student from returning to the building after prosecutors charged the student with attempted murder. According to documents we picked up from Denver County Court, there's evidence of another principal that faced pushback from the district regarding school safety when she sought a restraining order against a student. The Denver Center for International Studies is a school for grades 6 through 12 in the Baker neighborhood off West 6th Avenue. Court documents show the principal learned of a text message threat from late January. The court record has screenshots of it. A student at DCIS writes, "About to shoot up the school and only go for the principal only." In seeking the restraining order, the principal told the court that information was shared with her that shows the student may have access to guns. She was granted a temporary restraining order by a Denver judge on February 8th. 3 days later, according to the court records, the principal of DCIS Baker emailed the judge. The email detailed a meeting between the principal, a supervisor, and a Denver Public Schools attorney, a meeting where the principal was told she would be kept from coming to school, not the student. The principal wrote the judge that she was told if the restraining order were served on the student, one of 3 options would follow. She would be put on remote work, or something called principal on special assignment at the central office, or paid administrative leave. As a result, she did not have the temporary restraining order served. She ended the email to the judge saying, quote, "I remain concerned for my personal safety and that of my school." The principal of DCIS Baker did not provide us with any of these court records, and when we reached out to her, she did not want to be interviewed. That principal remains at the school. The court records show that ultimately the student's family agreed with a permanent restraining order. That went into effect March 8th. When students return to school this week, their principals will remain limited in what they can do with potentially violent students inside their own schools. Their union wants to change that.
We need to have the district bring leaders to the table to talk about what that looks like and making sure that leaders have a voice, that they feel comfortable raising concerns about student discipline, that they feel comfortable raising concerns about student safety.
That letter from the principals union is also going to the school board tonight. This is the first time the union has specifically said we, as the union, need to be included now. Again, they were just recently formed. And since our first story with McAuliffe 10 days ago, we've received several tips about administrators getting pushback from the district regarding school safety decisions. So I'll ask for more at this point, marshall@9news.com for your email tips.
If folks want to send an encrypted text, they can also text 303-871-1845. 541 if you want to text us securely there. We've got some school board members who've been out in public saying that these school administrators, these principals talking about what's going on in the schools isn't helping. I guess that's what your definition of helping is, but it's clear that it's not just students who don't feel safe or some parents or a teacher here and there. The folks who are entrusted with the safety and security of the whole building, these principals aren't cool with what's going on in DPS.
No, and the words I got from the union president, safe, welcoming, equitable, and who better to determine that for the people that are in the schools every day. Not just determine it, but at least lead the changes because they can have the voice. This is what I see. This is what's open to me, I think. Perhaps this should be part of the new policy.
Yeah. If nothing else, if DPS is just going to swat down the safety concerns of principals at all these schools, we could at least have a public conversation about why. All right, Marshall, thank you. East High students returned from break a day later than the other DPS schools. They're coming back on Wednesday, 2 weeks since the shooting of 2 deans by a student there. Today, a newly formed parents group met right outside of East, saying they'll be out there every Monday asking DPS for more transparency. The parent group was created a few days after the East shooting. The group wants DPS to outline an improved safety plan before students return on Wednesday. They're also calling for the Board of Education to bring more policy discussions out from behind closed-door executive sessions.
That's apparent. We've been told nothing about safety improvements at our school, except for the return of some school resource officers. Nothing from DPS board. We've observed no changes here at our school to make it safer when our kids get back on Wednesday.
School board had that closed-door meeting about bringing back school resource officers after the shooting. They came out of the closed meeting with a fully written policy, boom, unanimous vote, done. A number of observers have noted that that might not have followed Colorado open meetings law, and it's contributed to confusion and competing claims about whether the school board really wanted to bring back those officers or whether they were essentially forced to do it by the mayor. Democrats at the state capitol continue to use their historic majorities to pass sweeping gun reform and abortion access bills over the opposition of Republicans. Today, the state legislature sent 2 gun bills to the governor for approval. One would raise the minimum age to purchase a gun to 21. The other would expand the state's red flag law so that health care providers and educators could seek court orders to temporarily take away someone's guns. Right now, those petitions have to come from family members or law enforcement. The Dems have teed up more gun bills set to pass, one requiring a three-day waiting period to buy a gun, another making it easier to sue gun manufacturers. The Democrats' bill to ban so-called assault weapons seems to be on shaky ground, though, and still does not have a committee hearing schedule. House Dems also signed off on 3 bills protecting abortion access. One goes straight to the governor. It would protect abortion providers and patients from any out-of-state investigations. The other 2 bills would expand insurance coverage for abortions and crack down on deceptive advertising from anti-abortion crisis pregnancy centers. Those bills are all but guaranteed to pass. They just need Senate approval on some amendments. This is happening quickly because Colorado Republicans do not have the votes to stop these bills. And their backup plan, essentially filibustering, just talking for hours, has also gone out the window. Now the Democrats have voted to limit debate this session. Anti-abortion advocates say they plan to host a rally for life tomorrow at the Capitol in opposition to the Democrats' bills. Former President Donald Trump arrived in New York City today ahead of his indictment tomorrow. Just wanted you to know that in case it was not reported anywhere else. The way some mayoral candidates talk about people in Denver who are unhoused, you would think that they couldn't vote. They can, of course, just like any citizen of the city. But, like anything else in their lives, voting is harder when your day-to-day involves finding shelter. Our Brian Wendland has the story.
This has been a fight of mine that is really dear to my heart.
The rhetoric in this mayoral election is personal for Jerry Burton.
I am an activist, an advocate for human rights.
He works with House Keys Action Network, advocating for people in Denver experiencing homelessness. He's lived that life, and he knows that this election will have a major impact on the people he serves.
You can sweep the homelessness, but it's going to take all of us. It's going to take out of us, the businesses, the corporation, the politician, in order to help it rectify this.
Those sweeps, Burton says, are his #1 issue.
You are sweeping people away from the resources.
And that makes it harder for people without a home to vote. If you're getting your mail at a center near your camp, once it's swept, you might end up miles away, unable to access your ballot.
You might be closer to St. Francis or a shelter, but you get swept. And then the next thing you know, you might be in Aurora.
Burton will help people get registered and take them to vote. But the sweeps also make it harder for him to find the people who need that help.
Most of the people are not where we expect them to be.
With candidates constantly talking about homelessness in ads and debates, Burton says the people affected most by that conversation should have their voices heard on Election Day.
Everybody have a right to vote. If you're 18 years old, you have a right to vote and you cast a vote, period.
For Next, I'm Brian Wendland.
Someone who's unhoused can register to vote using the address of any physical location that they return to often. That could be a shelter, or a park, or a friend's house. If mail is not delivered there, then a different mailing address is also needed. So Denver voters have until tomorrow, 7 p.m. to turn in ballots, and the vast majority of voters still have those ballots. So just a reminder, we are running next voter concierge service again for this election. So if you have your ballot and there's a lingering question that might keep you from voting, our next team will answer it for you privately by email as long as you promise to vote. So maybe it's about a position of one of the 16 candidates for Denver mayor, or it's a question about the Park Hill Golf Course development. If you're holding that ballot because of a question that you need answered, we will provide the best answer we can if you pledge to vote. Email those questions to next@9news.com. If you're stuck on the mayor's race, I highly encourage you to check out the voter guide at 9news.com. You can go candidate by candidate to read about all of their positions, or if there's one or two issues that's really important to you, say a crime and public safety or public transit or homelessness, you can sort by that one issue and then see all of the candidates' stances in one place. Quick word of thanks from me to you before we step away here. The $13,000 plus that you raised last week for Kaizen Food Rescue is going to help that nonprofit provide even more meals around the Denver metro area, especially in the immigrant and refugee communities it serves. Since 2020, your weekly micro-giving campaigns have raised $10.6 million for Colorado nonprofits, and it is often one of your ideas that leads us to a new nonprofit in need. So keep those ideas coming. Read each and every email that goes to next@9news.com. Firefighters are making great progress on wildfires in several counties. It's the potential for high wind, though, that has them worried. And a field trip to go vote.
The person we choose would impact our future.
That's next. Firefighters are on day 5, working against a stubborn fire up in Park County. The 403 fire is now 35% contained and pretty well held in place over the weekend. The fire started Thursday morning. It's burned nearly 1,500 acres. At this point, no injuries have been reported and no buildings have been lost. People who were evacuated in Park and Teller counties were allowed to go home yesterday, though they were told they need to be ready to go again as both counties are under a red flag warning for bad conditions today. In Jefferson County, fire crews say 2 fires burning over the weekend are now completely contained. The Hogback fire near Morrison and Red Rocks started Friday with all the high winds. Firefighters say it was a downed power line that got that going. The Jeffco Sheriff's Office says the Bear Fire in Golden Gate Canyon is also now 100% contained. Investigation into what caused the fire is still going on, but the Sheriff's Office says it was people. Neither of the 2 fires caused any structure damage and no one was injured.
So nice to have some good updates because the winds are still howling tonight and we still have a couple more hours to go to look at that high fire danger across much of southern Colorado. 55-mile-per-hour winds charging across Cortez. It is quite blustery across the San Luis Valley. 32-mile-per-hour wind gusts out toward DIA, and these strong winds continuing off to the eastern plains tonight. The red flag warning will continue until 8 o'clock this evening. This is just outside of Denver, points to the south and then off to the east as well. Good news is a storm system is coming in. That's going to help squash our fire danger quite a bit in the days to come. You can already see a little bit of light snowfall starting to kick up across the northern mountains, and there's that storm system anchored across the Great Basin. It's going to scoot into Colorado by tomorrow. Cloudy skies, rain, snow, it's all heading our way, and a huge cool off too. As we look early into tomorrow morning, 8 a.m., you're hopping in the car trying to get the kids back to school. Maybe you're heading off to work. You're going to look at a little bit of light snowfall here in the Denver area. Good news is it has been so warm. The weekend, how great was that? We are are going to be looking at those roads staying mainly wet with all of the accumulation happening in the grassy surfaces. The high country certainly will be the big winners out of this storm. That's where we have the winter weather advisories. I-70 and south for about 5 to 10. Northern mountains looking at 8 to 16 as they're under the winter storm warning. Here around the Denver metro area, like I said, mainly just going to be in the grass. A trace to 2 here in the city. Those higher mounts in the western suburbs and further to the south, and of course up into the foothills too. A day in the 30s at best. We'll kind of touch 32 and then cool off quite a bit. Looking ahead toward the rest of the week, the Rockies home opener back to the 50s with 70s on our way for Easter weekend.
Students in Green Valley Ranch are getting a real-life civics lesson by casting their ballots.
It's important to have our voices heard and be a part of making decisions.
Their message for Denver's next mayor. Next. Exercising your right to vote takes far less exercise in Colorado than most places. I mean, you send the ballot to your house, you pick up the pen, you make some choices, you lick a stamp, you put it in the mailbox, done. Very few people vote in person. Kind of missing the experience, right? But for students at KIPP Leadership Academy in Green Valley Ranch, where 90% of the eligible students are registered to vote, they got their exercise today all right. Our Katie Eastman went along.
Every year, a new group of teens gets to make their voices heard.
I'm 18, just turned 18 just last week on the 24th.
Ladies and gentlemen!
This year, the seniors at KIPP Leadership Academy in Green Valley Ranch are learning how it's done.
This is my first time voting, which I was confused. I was like, how do I do the paperwork? But like our fellow teachers and like the staff at the school helped me.
We're gonna go ahead and start moving out. Okay. Let's stay on the sidewalk.
The teachers are making sure those ballots get counted by walking students to a ballot box the day before the election.
I feel very adult.
That feeling is new and empowering.
It gives me more of like an opportunity of speaking my opinion to the community.
We should start off at a young age knowing what we want in the future for ourselves.
And it's just nice to have like an impact in our community.
Their first election is a big one, deciding who the mayor of Denver will be. And they hope that person listens to what they care about.
Affordable housing, just because I feel like it's gotten so expensive and it's difficult to find somewhere where you can live.
The low poverty neighborhoods, I would say probably a lot of change in that.
Inflation to homelessness.
The half mile to the rec center where they cast their vote is a short field trip.
I'm really out here making a difference, you know.
But it feels like a big step.
Another cool thing is you can actually track your ballots.
Their first vote of many.
Good job, you guys. I'm proud of you.
For next.
The future right here. Good job.
I'm Katie Eastman.
That many people could decide the mayoral election. I'm not kidding, there's 16 people on the ballot. Your feedback includes the most provocative suggestion I have heard this election season. Next. But he's noticed a nexus between two stories we have reported on here recently. The fight over what to do with the enormous open space land of the Park Hill Golf Course and the city tearing out the pickleball courts at Congress Park. Jim suggests they use the land at Park Hill as a pickleball campus, restaurants, pubs, and pickleball. Jim, you forgot the affordable housing. You need to add the affordable housing in there, but then maybe you've got an idea going. Frank in Golden says, did you ask the kids how they decided who to vote for? No, Frank, we didn't. I assume the kids do it like most adults, meaning that some of them will take time to do their research and go to the 9 News voter guide, and others will just make stupid, dumb luck decisions. We'll see you next time.